How's it going, everyone? Welcome, ArtBlocks community, and welcome to another week of After Dinner Mints. My name is Panyo. Today we have a fantastic discussion set up for everyone. We're going to have later on during this discussion, we're going to have live from Panama. We're going to have Jorge talking about his factory project. And without further ado, we're really excited to have ArtBlocks founder, artist, generative artist, Snowfro to tonight's discussion.
Hey everybody, good to see y'all again. I know I get to hang out on these, but I think today I get grilled.
Yeah, we're gonna roast them just a little bit, but no, we have a lot to talk about. I kind of just want to dive straight into all the questions and discussion points that I have for today. And for anyone that wants to ask questions, feel free to just DM me on Discord, and that'll be the easiest way to kind of answer questions and relay them over to Snowfro. And then also, if you'll notice on the top left over here, these are the latest gas prices. So if you are planning on minting something, just jump in over here. It'll update every 12 seconds.
What are we at?
Yeah, we're looking single, low double-digit numbers right now, which is solid. And yeah, if you're in the Discord server, make sure you jump into the ArtBlock Mints channel. That's where people of the community are going to be kind of discussing everything. So so Eric, thank you for being here today. Have a lot to talk about. ArtBlock space has grown significantly over the past several weeks, several months, and with that, there's a lot of new people in the space. Can you share with everyone how you got into the NFT space, and then also how you came up with the idea of ArtBlocks?
Yeah, I mean, for those that have heard me say it a million times, I'm sorry, because I feel like I definitely get to talk about this a lot. But there are some new folks. I see a lot of new faces a lot. So Panyo had this good idea to bring it back up again. But yeah, no, I claimed my CryptoPunks in 2017, and that's kind of where I entered the NFT space officially. We had, I had kind of been throwing ideas around with friends of the idea of blockchain technology kind of helping represent individual items, but never as thoroughly as what the CryptoPunks guys did. I claimed a bunch of zombies, which if you're not familiar with CryptoPunks, they're pretty rare. And as I was claiming them, I thought, man, it's kind of weird. Blockchain technology is pretty effective. Why am I picking the rare ones? Why would I not just claim and it presents me with the rare ones? So if any of you guys claimed me bits or bought me bits, more along the lines of that. So that was one of the main reasons that one of the first thoughts for ArtBlocks was to kind of be able to be presented with an output without getting to pick it. I also have spent a lot of time with creative coding, creating art installations and just a bunch of apps that I wrote, and I thought that it would be really cool for an NFT to be interactive and to not just be a static image. I have a thing about, as any of the artists on the platform can attest to, things that are not resolution agnostic. I'm a huge fan of vector art and not as much raster art. And the idea that you could create an animated GIF and it would look great today, but in a bigger screen, it looks. I mean, no matter what, even if it's on IPFS, it's maybe it doesn't look so good when the screen gets bigger. The idea of having essentially the vector version of animated interactive media, I thought was really interesting as well. So all of those things came together. I obviously am a huge fan of smart contracts, of blockchain technology, and 4 years later, this is ArtBlocks. So we're 6 months in to the launch of this animal. It was version 4. I started kind of actually ArtBlocks was deployed in 2018 as a smart contract. That's the first time that ArtBlocks had a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's gone through a bunch of different changes to where it is now. And I think this is clearly the form that kind of appealed to the most people, both on the artist side and the collector side. And now we're just kind of enjoying where we're at. It's been an amazing ride with amazing people.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like you mentioned, we're only 6 months in, and I've only been in the space for about 5-6 months for ArtBlocks, and it's just evolved, and the community has grown, and yeah, it's a fantastic environment. So my next question is, a lot of people are getting to the NFT space. why are smart contracts so important for artists and collectors alike? Like, what is it that makes that technology so important for people in the generative artists, for art blocks?
Well, I guess when we first started dealing with smart contracts, I guess let's say early 2017, and the concept of an NFT, or formally an NFT, didn't exist. Smart contracts made money smart. It's that simple. It allowed money to be treated with rules, and those rules could be guaranteed would be executed based on black and white code, not human emotion. And when that evolved into the concept of proving ownership of a digital asset, that's when the idea of an NFT came around. And it's not just an image; it can be anything, but an NFT proves ownership of something digital. That was interesting to me, just in the sense that when the concept of an NFT came around, people would just hear the word NFT and they might not understand the inner workings of a smart contract, but they knew that it was offered on a blockchain, and they knew that people trusted it. And we don't necessarily at that point have to dive into what a smart contract is. But in 2018, 2019, you'd still see people frequenting Etherscan to, kind of query contracts in ways that I feel like just doesn't really happen today. So ultimately, the smart contract is the root. It's like the reason that all of this exists. But the need to understand the inner workings of it is not as critical as it was before, unless something goes wrong. And then that's kind of when it matters. And if anybody's ever, had a website present them with, their NFT doesn't show up in their account or something, it's like you can always go back to the blockchain or to the smart contract and know and prove that you own this digital asset, whether it's an Art Blocks asset or any other asset. So the importance of smart contracts there. I mean, this couldn't exist without a smart contract. We wouldn't really be talking. And then in terms of just generative art, the smart contracts help you prove provenance for a digital asset, who's owned it since it was worthless, since it was free. So, I often describe the CryptoPunks as if it was just a website and these guys had sold 10,000 CryptoPunks using dollars and credit cards and centralized servers. I'm sure they would have value because they're cute and they're cool, but I don't think that they would have the value that they have today. So the provenance and digital ownership is something an NFT offers. But prior to what Art Blocks is doing, there was no provenance for generative pieces, which is artwork made with code. There was no provenance to the individual iteration in generative art. So, you could create a generative piece, you could press the spacebar and create 100 generative pieces. Every time you press the spacebar, it's a different piece. And that's amazing. That's kind of how I explore generative art. And I think how most of us explore generative art. And what Art Blocks is doing is giving value and justification to each one of those iterations, and giving like a history and provenance to the variables that create the generative art piece. So it's like just one step further in proof of identity or proof of what you own.
Cool. Yeah, I think what I love about smart contracts and just the blockchain is that the transparency. Like you mentioned, you can see who sold it, who transferred it, how much it costs. I think that's just like so important for collectors. When it's being traded back and forth, like people understanding that. So I know Jeff Davis was one of the first few people, who were instrumental in helping you create Art Blocks. Like, how did you guys meet and create obviously this incredible platform?
Jeff Davis was tokenizing stuff on Rarible, and there was a time on Rarible where you would get Rary for selling stuff on there, and so that attracted me to spend some time on Rarible. Kind of learning the it was like the early days of NFTs of 2020, and I'm sitting here working on Art Blocks, and I had been basically begging artists to participate for a really long time. Like, it's like, I have this idea, I think it's kind of crazy, but it'd be cool if you gave me a shot and gave me a script and whatever. And I understand why in 2018 and 2019 I got rejected a lot, because the platform it wasn't a fully completed platform. It was an idea. It was a smart contract. There was no front end. But then around 2020, I was like, all right, I'm building this out. I had a test net. I had stuff working and like functional. And you could make it work. And Jeff is someone that was tokenizing art that I thought was magical. Like, I'm really into simple, minimal stuff. And I reached out to him. I was like, I have this crazy idea. You know, first of all, I researched him because he's not. I mean, he has a background in creative coding. He has, you know, he's been doing art for 25 years. He just seemed like a human, you know, which is not so common in I think in the crypto space and the NFT space. And I pitched it to him, and he embraced it. So, you know, it was just like, you know, after pitching it to, not exaggerating, maybe like dozens of artists, he was like, oh man, this is weird, but yeah, let's try it. And so that's kind of how our relationship started. He was on testnet, and then he and my brother were the only two that were willing to, or like ready to go on day one to deploy a script. And so our relationship kind of built from there.
Cool. Yeah, and you guys were the first 3 projects that launched on the platform, right?
Black Friday.
Yeah, that seems like forever ago.
Yeah.
So, all right. And so, you know, transitioning into your projects, Squiggles, Chromie Squiggles, obviously one of the coolest projects on the platform, and just like something that's just like, when people see it, it's like iconic. They're like, oh, that's a Chromie Squiggle. It's like automatic. Like, how did you come up with the idea for that project? Is that something, like you said, on day one you were ready to go? Is that something you had been working on for, you know, prior years?
The Squiggle has been live even as an Artblocks piece in its original. Like, the Squiggle existed on the Artblocks smart contract in 2018, but it wasn't really well received. It wasn't really like used, but it was kind of like other things used as a proof of concept, right? Like, because there's so many options of where the points can lie, and because there's so many ways that it can start color-wise, end color-wise, and then obviously all the other variants, it became an almost unlimited iterative piece. And so to me, it was to prove that, okay, yeah, you might have some that look similar to each other, but you couldn't overlay 2 Chromie Squiggles. Even if there was an addition of 1 million, you wouldn't overlay 2 of them and get the same results. So that was, you know, the big push was to show something that did that. And when it started off as a proof of concept, and then it kind of moved into being what I consider like my signature, like my art piece, because my signature is really weird, and it's never the same. If you ask my poor wife, every time we go sign something, she's like, "What? Why do you even sign? Like, it just doesn't look like a signature." But you know, the idea too, like, it just kind of grew into feeling like an art piece, and in the sense that, yeah, I had never actually seen the squiggle before. Like, I mean, I'm sure we've seen squiggly lines, but something, you know, that was put out there as like an official piece or representative piece of art. And you're right. I mean, when I started looking around and thinking, like, you know, I think if I saw a squiggle somewhere, I would know immediately that it was a Chromie Squiggle. That's when I started feeling like it went from being proof of concept to like just something that genuinely represented me as an artist and as a developer and whatever. So that's, yeah, it's been around for a long time. Been working on it for a really long time. It's crazy that it's mostly all minted, and, you know, 800 mints from now we'll never see another one again, and that's completely mind-blowing as well.
That's gonna be a weird day when there are no more, you know, squiggles. Like, what's gonna happen to that channel? Like, what are we gonna be like looking forward to?
We'll make a coffee table book, because every single squiggle has been documented since squiggle number 9042, except for the after dinner mints ones. But yeah, those, I guess I should go back and make a little announcement for all the Sunday night mints.
Yeah, no, I love it. Do you have some favorite or like really unique mints that you'd mind like sharing with us?
Oh, I didn't prepare for that. So yeah, my favorite, well, obviously, I mean, I love really plain squiggles that have the whole color spectrum. I like squiggles that just kind of have smooth bounciness to them. But I think as a, like, something that's not super rare that I really like has always been the, I think somebody one time referred to them as a closed terminal ribbed. You know, something like this that just kind of feels like it's like a fluorescent light inside of a bulb that's bent like a fluorescent bulb. So those have always kind of been my favorite, especially because when they're animated, I feel like they really kind of have this moodiness to them that's not, you know, the other ones are all happy-go-lucky, and that's the idea, is like a squiggle's just supposed to be like a happy thing. But, you know, some of these moody ones, this is just like my favorite kind of squiggle. In fact, while squiggles were being minted, there was about a month there where anytime any of these were listed for less than 0.1, I bought them up. So I have I have a significant number of this type of squiggle. At one point, I was like, well, clearly, if people are willing to sell them for 0.1, like I'm going to buy all of the different shades of gray, which would be 256 shades of gray.
Wow.
But of course, that didn't happen. But I have a lot of white ones and light gray ones and dark gray ones, and I think that it can be the same underneath, but they're very dynamic, and like the difference of a squiggle with like a gray sheath to it, let me find one that's got like a really cool.
Well, yeah, some of them, like they're like they show almost the entire spectrum. Yeah, you have the full spectrum, and that's like super rare. I think there's like less than 50 of them out of 9,000+.
Yeah, there was a. See, this. I think this is like a really beautiful one because of the gray kind of outline to it. But yeah, the ones that have there, I think Trill has the only perfect spectrum ribbed, but interestingly, you can only see the very tip of it. Like you don't actually see the whole inside, so it's like a secret perfect spectrum, or at least it's a full spectrum. And then one of the things that I thought was really cool about these kind of like shades is when you change the background color to something real similar to it, it kind of looks ghostly.
Yeah. So how do people access that? Like how do they change the color of the background and animate the squiggle?
Well, if you visit a live script, which if I do it now, it's going to break the screen share. Yeah, so it's not sharing that screen. But if you visit a live script of a squiggle, if you press the space bar, it'll change the background color. And there's 13 different options from white to black, and it's just different shades. So I'm just changing it and just kind of like cycles back and forth. And if you just click the squiggle, the color starts changing. So it's just a rainbow. It's just a color cycle through the length of the squiggle. And then if you are into like happier, rainbows, then you can increase the speed, which I don't know if this is translating through the screen share.
It's working.
By pressing the up button. And if you get anxious and you want it to change real fast, you press and hold shift and press the up button, and it goes to like the fastest setting right away. And you can do the same thing if you press the down button. So you can make it slow down to this is actually moving, but it's moving so slow. And this is, I really like the happy kind of techno
vibes to it.
Yeah, the fast speed. But if I like, for example, I have an infinite objects test frame, and I have it moving at the slowest possible speed, so that you get, it's like you look away, and then a couple minutes later you look back, and it's a different squiggle, but it's moving so gradually that you don't feel like it's getting away from you.
I think it would be really cool, once all 10,000 are minted, this could be kind of a crazy idea, but in the Marfa house, get 10,000 screens, have all of them just like going crazy at once, and then it could just turn into, our block dance party or something.
A rave, yeah, man. I'd be all over that. Yeah, and then some of these open terminal ones are pretty amazing too, I think. But I always kind of enjoy the closed terminal. I actually think that I minted the only ribbed squiggle that you can't see any of the color inside. Like it's literally like the ribs are such that they're so tightly packed together that you can't see any of the color. You just see the open terminal on the inside. And I thought that was kind of a neat one to mint too.
Yeah, and that bold one, that was minted just recently. Is that for the Flamingo DAO?
Oh, that was for Squiggle DAO.
For Squiggle DAO, yeah.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild mint.
That's wild.
Yeah, I think the hypers are kind of fun how they change color. I always think of Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's super cool. So obviously, for people who are new to the space and they're interested in Chromie Squiggles, the only place they can purchase them is on the secondary market. Can you just tell us why the project, if they were to go on the Artblocks website, why it's paused?
Yeah, so the Chromie Squiggle was meant to be minted over the course of over a year. I thought 10,000 of them would be just plenty for people to just have access to for a long time. And instead they were minted in 5 weeks. So I made a decision when they were kind of being minted quickly. I wanted to be able to gift Squiggles to people. I wanted people to experience like the minting of a fresh piece. And, as a platform, we can either make an arrangement with an artist and they would let us mint free pieces of their work. But I feel like that's kind of the typical thing that people do to artists. It's like, oh yeah, let me have something for free and I'll give you publicity. So as an artist myself, like I've always kind of just hate that kind of way of marketing. And so, or I would have to be buying artist pieces to mint them for people. And so the only solution really is that we have a piece that I created so that I don't feel like I, am having to pay. I mean, especially now that a Squiggle is like $500 a pop, right? Like pay for each fresh NFT. So in the case of the Squiggle, we paused the minting of the Squiggle just so that I can use it as a way of saying thank you to people. Usually when I'm interviewed for a podcast, like I'll mint a Squiggle to that person, or we'll do that for after dinner mints. The idea is that we should be able to be seeing fresh Squiggles for the next year and a half, maybe 2 years, depending on how crazy we get. And that brings me a lot of happiness, but it also is kind of a cool way to engage with new people.
Cool, yeah, we love it. I mean, I think whenever somebody sees in the Art Block Mint channel a Squiggle come through, everyone just gets super excited because it doesn't happen, all the time anymore.
Yeah, I get super excited, and it's my baby.
So do you have once, maybe you would have to wait for this curated project to be done, but do you have any plans to do like a playground project at some point?
I was talking about that with Ben and Jeff and Hannah last night at dinner. We all got together in Marfa and got to know each other in person this weekend, which is amazing. I have like 10 ideas. I just haven't had a chance to make it, but one of them involves Lego, like creating a Lego sculpture, which I've kind of been ideating for a while. One of them involves projection mapping, but I think we're not ready for that yet. So I think that might skip that one. I also have Dan Flavin is one of my favorite artists. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dan Flavin, but share. And we got to see some of his pieces again last night, or in Marfa this weekend. And I kind of feel like it'd be really cool to do like a drop that's inspired by some of. I don't know if y'all can see this, but he uses fluorescent lights and backlights walls, and then uses fluorescent lights in the front. So I have some ideas of a drop that would kind of be inspired by Dan Flavin. Oh, you can't see that. Oh, you can see this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we can see it.
Yeah. So there's lots of stuff, but the problem is that I deflect a lot of opportunities that come our way. I mean, not a lot, but and I find that there's a lot of potential things that I can do or that Art Blocks could do that we have such low bandwidth that we haven't had an opportunity to pursue them. And so I feel guilty dedicating time to like doing a drop, even though the drop would probably be free or something, right? Like I'm not trying to like raise any money from our community, but like I just feel like I can't willingly put myself into this mindset of creating something creative while deflecting potential opportunities that are coming our way as a platform. So I think when the platform grows a little bit and maybe there's more people that can help share some of these responsibilities, I think I'll dive back in, maybe take like a weekend off, like close myself into a hotel room and not see the light of day for like a weekend and maybe crank something out.
Cool, yeah. I know all of us would be looking forward to that. So keep us posted.
It's a high bar now too, right? Like
yeah.
It can't be mediocre.
I feel like every week I'm just like constantly saying like, okay, this is like the top, and then every week I think we're just like everyone's mind is getting blown and we're just like, yeah, I'm always excited to see what the next project is. And
yeah, I think Tyler really blew a lot of minds this last weekend. It was just really refreshing to see. It's like all the curated drops kind of everyone gets all excited, but this one in particular, I have a lot of comments being like, yeah, this reminds me of like why I'm here and what got me excited about Art Blocks in the first place. So it's really nice to see that kind of reaction.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, just the variation in that project was just like mind blowing. You probably could have done like 1,200, 1,500, and you would still probably get like totally different outputs. Very cool job.
Yeah, it was really great.
So I wanted to kind of change gears. So last week, Sotheby's auction ended last Thursday. Like, what are your like thoughts? From the Sotheby's auction. I know they had, there were some like comments and issues with how they displayed the artwork in the physical space, and that actually got changed. Jeff was able to like put together a slideshow, and I thought it did a much better job of like showcasing the pieces.
Oh, yeah.
Like what are your thoughts about just the Sotheby's auction in general right now?
I mean, I was blown away by first of all, the community, how much y'all reached out to Sotheby's, and we're like, come on, guys, like get your shit together. Because it's weird because like in one side, I feel grateful and honored that we were invited to be part of the Sotheby's thing. So we don't want to be like this annoying, like, oh, make it, but I think it was wrong enough to where it fully deserved to have been done and executed better. And it's a shame that it wasn't done right the first time. Like even just on day one, they omitted like a third of the artists off the list. Like there's just a lot of stuff that I think could have been done better. I don't think it affected the end price, right? Like I mean, prices didn't move for 5 days, so like people priced it up at the beginning and then it sat and then at the end it sold. I am ecstatic with what happened with Sotheby's. You can go on OpenSea and get one of each of Series 1 on the secondary market for less than that. And so what that means is that buyer paid a bit of a premium for it being a founder's set, which I think is special. And again, we could have gone crazy and put rare Squiggles and rare, but I mean, ultimately we just wanted it to be like, a really clean, good coordinating floor set where like there's some pinks and greens that went well together. And then also because it went to charity. And so, it's different when you have, for example, the KC Reese piece, which I bid to the very end and then I got sniped at the very end, and I'm kind of maybe glad because I don't know that I should have been spending that much money on one piece of art. So it's probably for the best, but, you can't get that piece anywhere else, right? So there's an active bidding competition because 3 people want something that you can't get somewhere else. If I was bidding on the Art Blocks piece and I lost, but I bid it up pretty high because then it went to charity and stuff, which I think there's really nice feels for that, especially because we're trying to put money into creative coding and just coding in general and underprivileged people. Then you would just go on OpenSea and be like, fine, you got it, and then just go on OpenSea and buy the set for a little bit less or a lot. I don't know. I've been following the Punks Discord lately, and it looks like people have been buying up full Sotheby's sets too. So maybe it's not as inexpensive. But up until Tuesday of last week, there was a full set of the Sotheby's set for, I want to say it was like 11 or 12 ETH for sale on OpenSea as a bundle. And so that's 30 grand. So to me, like as long as the Sotheby's set sold for more than $30,000 and ended up having this little premium because it came from Jeff and I, and this little premium because it was for charity, I would have been super happy. I would have been bummed if it sold for less than what you could have got it for at OpenSea. Or I would have been like, man, that person knows how to go shopping because like they just got a deal for it, right? But no, I mean, I'm ecstatic. I hope the artists are happy. I really hope that there's opportunities to kind of do stuff like that again. I think it'd be really fun if Sotheby's enjoyed this process, that we might do like the Series 3, and maybe every time we finish a series, we put forth like another one for charity, and slowly but surely start building up our account to fully be able to execute the Art Blocks Foundation, which is something that we have huge plans for. But the funds for Sotheby's are going into this thing called the Donor Advised Fund, so that it'll allow us to kind of do charitable stuff with it, but park it somewhere where it's public and transparent. Ideally, we wanted to start a foundation, but you have to have like minimum amount of money for a foundation and the legal fees and stuff. So our goal is to kind of either collect funds in this donor advised funds until we have enough money to start the foundation, and then we'll deploy the foundation, and then from there we'll deploy the funds to the charitable organizations. Or if it's going to take a long time, we'll dedicate a portion of those funds to charitable initiatives and still try to kind of accumulate enough. So we need about $250,000 to start a foundation. I think legally, like there needs to be at least $250,000 in the foundation to start it. And legal fees, I've been told, for starting a foundation are between $50,000 and $100,000. So, I think, a lot of people would say that the minimum funds you should have to start a foundation is probably like about $500,000. And so, yeah, we'll feel it out, but this is the beginning of that. We're going to have, about $60,000 in that bank account in a couple of weeks whenever Sotheby's sends the money. And it's an awesome start. I couldn't ask for more. I'm really excited.
And I think the takeaway, obviously, it was displayed in a way maybe it could have been done better, is that, Sotheby's reacted and they were like, oh, okay, let's, we're listening to, Art Blocks, Jeff and the community, and we want to make it right. So it's like, I think that's like a good sign that they weren't just like, hey, it is what it is. It's more like, cool, this is like the start, like you said, hopefully of a strong relationship between Art Blocks and Sotheby's or other auction houses. And, You know, I think it's a good start, and I'm actually curious. You know, like what do you think? You know, this is the first Art Blocks auction in a big auction house. Like, what do you think this does for generative artists, for the platform in general? Like, does it give like legitimacy? Do you think that's like the biggest takeaway? Like, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, a lot of the art in this auction was generative to begin with, right? So there was obviously it was like a very heavy NFT theme, but a lot of what we're seeing in the NFT space is generative anyways. It was always generative. We just never really referred to it like that. You know, but like people like Dimitri have been posting or tokenizing generative art as an NFT for years. And so it's really nice to see the word generative being used and appreciated as a reference to the art. And yeah, I think it legitimizes it. I think that we have a lot to learn too about what, you know, you know, to answer that successfully, I would want to know who bought the piece, the set, right? Because I would have no problem if it was a crypto person, right? I think that would be amazing. And I think it's like a smart move, because in the crypto space, we value certain things, right? So like in the crypto punks, it's, you know, people always value the dev punks because they were below 1,000 ID, or you know, there's all these things that people find kind of like a little bit of a niche value to. So from the crypto world, it wouldn't surprise me that someone from the crypto world would have paid a premium for that lot, because of the fact that this is maybe going to be a more well-recognized set. But if somebody from outside the crypto world bought that set, then I think it goes in a totally different direction of potential marker of success, because it means that maybe somebody is entering the NFT space with something that's, in my opinion, you know, very different and potentially historic in the way that we're kind of creating and establishing provenance for generative art. And yeah, to me, that would be, it would make me feel different about how the auction went, both being that I think the auction went very successfully, but if it was somebody from outside the generative art space, or outside generative art or outside of crypto art, then I'd be like, yeah, I think, you know, we really have made it. If we were able to appeal to someone from like outside of the, you know, the crypto space.
And just to be clear, you know, for everyone, it can remain anonymous, right? The buyer.
I think so, because I think Sotheby's is going to receive the funds, and then Sotheby's is going to send the funds. So we may never know, but I will mint a squiggle to the buyer if they come to me, and they can be private if they want. I just want to hear. I just want to know what was going through their mind. So, you know,
well, you heard it here first. You know,
that's a bribe. You know, I don't know if that's considered a bribe or not, but I will, you know, mint a squiggle to whoever bought it, and, you know, just to kind of get to pick their brain and just hear more about their process.
Now everyone needs to start tweeting at Sotheby's and just say, hey, if this person can speak up, you know, then you know, give them that free squiggle. I think that could be a good incentive.
That's right.
Well, now's a great time. I want to transition over to Jorge, who has a new factory project launching this upcoming Tuesday. It's called Parametric. He's streaming live from Panama, so I just want to say thank you, Jorge, for being here today. How are you doing?
Hi, Ponyo. Hi, Snowfro. I'm fine.
Hi, Jorge.
A lot of rain lately here.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Well, thank you for being here today. You know, your project is being released this upcoming Tuesday. Can you just tell us a little bit about your project and, yeah, like where you came up with the idea?
Well, sure. This project started actually in around June 2019. And I started the sketches. It was kind of some doors in the space. And what I was going through in my mind was that we have a notion of freedom that is differently for each person, and we think that we are really free, but there are always parameters on that freedom. And if you push towards the ultimate notion of freedom, there are a lot of things like we are limited by our bodies, by the laws of physics, by the laws of society, a lot of things, but we are always limited. But we're just okay with that, no? And and we feel that we are free, even though we have a lot of parameters. So I developed this web app um, where people will feel like they're doing their own piece of art. You know, they get something random and they can do whatever they want with that. And while they're happy at the end, I tell you, do you think you did exactly what you wanted? I was limiting all the time. I was limiting you on what you were doing. So that was the initial idea. Then a lot of people started uh, playing with that um, playing with that web app, and suddenly I had like 500 people, 500 pieces that people made, and at the moment, a curator that she's right now in the Netherlands um, mentioned me in Instagram about that, and then another curator, and then that became like a piece uh, in a in an action for a museum, and then like it unfolded on a lot of things. Um, Prior to that, I was doing Google Maps vandalizations, where let me share my screen so I can show you what I'm talking about. Hold on just a little.
It might take a few seconds for the people that are watching. It might take us a few seconds because we just have to patch in the shared screen. So if you give us,
just let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you know when it's up and running. Just give us a couple moments.
Sure.
Cool. Yep. Yeah, we should be up, and your shared screen is up now.
Okay, perfect. So what I did is that I took pictures of these great walls and buildings, and then I edited the pictures and then I uploaded to Google Maps, and as if those were real pictures of the buildings, and I have a lot of those vandalizations around Panama. Um, and after that, I started. Well, this was a piece for the museum of modern art, Panama, of contemporary art in Panama. So it unfolded a lot of things. Then what very random story that's for another day. I ended up knowing about art blocks on content on Instagram of Sofia Garcia, and it was about Dimitris. And then I came here on Discord, and I knew about this, and I immediately applied to have this project there, to have Libertad Parametrizada on art blocks. And for me, this is gonna be like the last form of Libertad Parametrizada. Let's say the last output of Libertad Parametrizada, because from now on, I'm gonna work on another project or something else. But out of all of the things that I've done with Libertad Parametrizada, this is gonna be like the closure. This is gonna be like closing of all the series of Libertad Parametrizada.
Cool. Well, those look fantastic. So can you tell us the date and time of when this project is going to be released and unpaused?
Yeah, it's gonna be on Tuesday, 12:45 p.m. GMT. That's gonna be 7:45 here in Panama. It's gonna be 8:45 a.m. in New York.
Cool. Well, we look forward to seeing this project, see all the mints come through the minter. Are there how can people reach out to you on social media? Like, is there anything else you wanted to kind of add?
Yeah, you can. You can get to this URL where you can see some more information about the story and how it all happened. And also what I'm doing with, I'm donating part of my proceeds to a project of a coding school here in Panama. But you can learn about that on this link. And on the project page, sorry, on the art blog page, you will see a link to this and also to my Instagram, zJorge, and my Twitter, which is the same.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you being here today, talking about your project, Parametric, which drops on Tuesday, June 15th at 12:45 GMT time. Thanks a lot, Jorge. I appreciate it. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Here it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you do people's art on you render people's art on the wall for them, and so we're like, well, if you rendered it on their wall, you could probably render a tattoo on his arm, but I guess it's real.
Super cool.
Yeah, this is real, and it has a meaning about my growth as an artist. And on Instagram, you can read about it. It's only in Spanish though. I'm gonna translate it so more people can understand
Do you want to
what that
do you want to
meant to me.
translate what Libertad Parametrizada means to people, or to you, or what how you came up with that name?
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what I was explaining about is that your freedom is limited by parameters, and Libertad Parametrizada means parametric
Awesome.
freedom.
Oh man, yeah, I love it. I think it's a really smart name. I can't wait to hear people say it. It's going to be a lot of fun hearing people like, that libertative, it'll be fun. As a native speaker, I always enjoy hearing people say stuff.
Yeah, I have some fun with trying to say it already.
Yeah.
I love it. We look forward to seeing your project and seeing all the mints coming through on Tuesday. Thanks a lot, Jorge.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a good transition to do a Chromie Squiggle giveaway. We've been talking about it all night, so I'm going to jump in the Discord channel under the Art Block Mints channel, and I just dropped it in. Let's make sure it gets deployed. Oh, whoops! I did not do something correctly. Hold on. Included. There we go. All right. So if you're in the channel, make sure you click on the ta-da emoji. Just click it once, because if you click it twice, then you won't be entered in. And as usual, click on some beers, the beer emoji, and the 4-leaf clover as well for good luck. While we're waiting for this to come through, we got about 2.5 minutes until it deploys the winner. Drew had asked me a question regarding the money that was taken from the Sotheby's auction. Will the foundation funds be held in crypto or USD?
They're going to be held in dollars. I think that it would be, well, first of all, the money is being held by what's called a donor advised fund, and they are holding that money in dollars. We could send the money in crypto, but it would be converted into dollars automatically. And I think the reason, my thought on that is just, A, that's how they do it, and B, the amount that you give, it could be a lot higher, but it could also be a lot lower. And I've gone through so many ups and downs in crypto where I'm just like, oh, just hold on a little bit longer, and watched everything just collapse. And I just don't think it's worth it. So if we're going to be supporting, $50,000 bucks, well, it's more than that, but let's say after we get all our fees taken out, let's just say it's a flat $55,000 bucks. That's a lot of money. And I think that it'd be really great to give that much and no less. And if you gave more, that'd be great too. But giving that much and no less would be really great too. So keeping it in dollars, I think, makes a lot of sense for now.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it looks like...
Is this a record, 50?
I think so, yeah. I mean,
Nice.
It looks like the 4-leaf clover, everyone's like pressing that luck,
I didn't click it this time because I'm trying not to click it. I think one day I think I've threatened this before. I'm gonna have like a couple beers and I'm gonna mint myself some Squiggles and just be like, oh, this is what it felt like to mint them for myself.
As you should. I think that would be a cool idea.
It just feels so selfish, but I already have a lot of them. I minted like 300 of them at the.
I think people just love
During
seeing
the-
it come through, the Art Block Mint channel. Just like randomly, you don't need to say anything. Just like randomly people are on the Discord like, whoa, they're like 5, 10, Squiggles, just got pumped out.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, well, we got about 28 seconds left until the winner is announced.
Oh, really? OX, you said we had 100? I didn't even, man, I wasn't even looking. That's crazy.
Did we? I mean, maybe. I'd have to look back, but maybe it's 100 with all like the numbers from all the emojis combined together.
Oh, yeah. Because I feel like I was surprised at noticing that it was just consistently 40.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
All right, Jeebs.
Jeebs, congratulations.
Sweet, man.
You
Now
are
we
the
just
winner.
need you to send me your ETH address, please. You can DM it or you can just post it. Depends on, how private you are. We will all know after the Squiggle is minted, though, so there's no hiding it. Yeah, you're famous.
Something I wanted to mention, before we wrap things up in a few minutes is, I'm sure a couple people saw this a few days ago. I think it was Fuck Vendor that posted something on Twitter where I guess somebody just DM'd him and was interested in buying some, personal art. And basically this random person sent an email over to him or her, and they clicked on the link. It ended up being a virus and just like totally wiped out their wallet. So I just want people in the community and obviously just in the NFT space in general to just be wary of like what you're clicking. I really would not click any links from any random people. Yeah, if it's somebody randomly messaging you, just be like, hey, just drop the image inside of the Discord chats for you to view it there. But it's a lesson learned. It's just like very unfortunate for that to happen. And, there are some, unfortunately, like bad people in the space, but, I think it's important to like let people know that to just be careful with just random DMs and clicking on links, because you just never know what's gonna happen.
I think this DM came through Instagram too, if I read it correctly. Which I think, to me, Instagram seems less scammy.
Yeah.
Like it just seems more innocent. I'm also kind of working with. I was just kind of been in DMs with another artist, and he was sharing his art. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna send you an email with my, like some art," and it was like to a Google Drive, and I was like, "Dude, no, nothing personal, but like I'm not opening this link to a Google Drive." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because we're full of scams in this industry. Like I don't think you're gonna try to do something to me, but like I'm just not opening it. Like share it here in Discord." So there's really very few things that people cannot share with you in Discord, and Discord is obviously, oh, that's a nice mothership. Discord is obviously the breeding ground for scammers, but yeah, just be super careful and assume the worst. Like just assume absolutely the worst, and just know that nobody from Art Blocks will ever reach out to you and ask you to download something, or and it's very unlikely that anybody from this community would ever do that. So if you just get a random message from someone that you recognize from the community, thank you, Jeebs, ignore it. Don't even answer it, because it's like they're trained to manipulate you. And on that same note, maybe some of you guys are in here. I get a lot of direct messages where people just say the word hello. I think they want me to engage, and I don't engage, because to me that's like not the way to start a conversation, I guess. And obviously, like, you can introduce yourself, whatever. But if literally you're just sending me hello, to me it just feels like it's like phishing and the start of a conversation that I don't want to be a part of. So I encourage the rest of you guys too. Like, we're humans. I know that we're used to operating in the digital world, but we still should act like humans to each other. And part of that is, introducing yourself and, giving a message to people when you reach out to them.
Definitely. And, as Druid posted inside the Discord channel, if anyone gets a sketchy DM from people in the Art Block server, just like tag the mods, tag, Druid, myself, Snowfro, whoever, and yeah, we'll take care of it. We'll ban them and make sure that they're not welcome on this space. So, there you go.
All right, got a mountain range.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Love it.
Congrats, Jeebs.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Squiggle number 9,166.
Just over 800.
Make it change colors for you.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one.
Sweet.
Now that we've given away the Squiggle, I'm very interested. I know this has kind of like popped up recently, and I'd just love to hear like your thoughts, like powered by art blocks. I know there's been a couple projects, deployed, and I'm just I think a lot of us are just kind of curious, like what is powered by art blocks? What does that do? Does that utilize the technology or what?
Yeah, so there's way more than 5 minutes of powered by art blocks. So to just kind of put it in a very quick little package, and then just explain that powered by art blocks is about to have an application process just like the normal artist application process, because it's something that is appealing to people. And so obviously we're very excited and flattered that people are interested in these crazy wild ideas. But powered by art blocks is a way we don't want to limit generative art, and we have bandwidth limits as a platform of how many artists we can onboard. We have rules. Some rules are very strict because I'm OCD and I want things to be a certain way. And then, but ultimately, we've created something that didn't exist before. And what we created isn't rocket science. And somebody can go and write a new smart contract that stores a script and kind of do their thing. And it's a lot of work. It took a long time to refine. I think that what we've put together, have fun if you want to recreate it on your own. Like I would encourage it, because I think it's really kind of nice to see people be entrepreneurs and do stuff. But the idea that we would have a platform that's had success, that we're doing something cool, and then say, okay, but if you really want to use it, you have to wait XYZ amount of time, or it's just not conducive to letting people explore generative art. And obviously there's more generative artists than even I thought there were when I launched the platform. So I guess maybe like a few months ago, I started kind of hinting on podcasts about this plan that I had, to essentially white label the concept of art blocks to where somebody can have the entire art blocks platform, but they run it themselves under their rules and under their specifications. And so the first one to deploy a Rinkeby contract was Flamingo DAO, and we've been working back and forth with them, and they'll be up and running pretty soon with a powered by art blocks type of implementation. Then PXQL reached out, and that one was really easy because they're wizards when it comes to programming. So it just was like a dream. It was like a few hours of my time, and it was up and running. And I've been pitching it to to video game companies for it's like, okay, let's say a video game company is going to have a generative character. Well, sure, they could drop that on art blocks factory because it wouldn't fit within the curated thing, right? Because it might be too many minutes or whatever. But art blocks is essentially become an art platform, not a tool. The idea is that art blocks can be a tool for generative content, but we've done such a good job with curation. Jeff has done such a good job with curation. The curation board has done such a good job with curation that it starts to feel weird to then start seeing little video games pop up and, potentially apparel and other conversations that are happening in the background. So in order to kind of keep this pure little platform that we have as like this flagship for art blocks, because all we care about is art and we love art, and also not to shun or reject other opportunities that come our way where people just want to use the technology, and we've made some massive inroads in the technology. And so we don't want to be like, oh, I'm glad you like art blocks and I like that you like what we're doing, but go figure it out on your own. Like there's opportunity there for us to grow as a platform by helping people kind of white label the concept of art blocks. So every powered by art blocks contract is an individually deployed smart contract. It's essentially a licensing agreement between art blocks and another entity. And what's beautiful about it is that it's a smart contract. So the license is the smart contract, which is what we all should be thriving, being driven by in the concept of why smart contracts are so beautiful. They deploy a smart contract. Artblocks gets a small percentage of every mint, but less of a percentage that we do on the normal Artblocks because they run their own servers or they run their own infrastructure. In some cases, some people may not be able to run their own infrastructure, so we're going to run their entire front end and back end for them, and so we get a bigger percentage. But yeah, the idea is that over time, you're going to see, Artblocks is going to hopefully, like our goal is kind of Artblocks becomes the name, kind of like when you say you want a Coke, like they might just have Pepsi there, but like you're still going to say I want a Coke. Like we want to be the ones that created this idea and this concept and be able to take credit for that, and we're very, very proud of our achievements. And then others can use that brand as a way of explaining without having to explain too deeply what they are doing. So if PXQL has a powered by Artblocks smart contract, then you know what it's doing. It's storing a script on chain. It's deterministic variables. It's using NFTs in a way that meets the expectations of what an Artblocks buyer is looking for. And so, yeah, I think there's some really cool economies of scale there. I think it allows Artblocks to spread out a little bit further than we are right now into other communities, and it allows other communities to establish something without having to start from scratch. So you will see more of them. We have an application. I'm working on an application for people that are interested. There's a few DAOs that are interested in kind of operating one. And the way I see it, it's like, in the NFT space, people would deploy on super rare, and then they would go do a piece on known origin, and then on async, and it's like they would go and do their rounds. And in the generative art space, there's a couple different types of platforms that do generative art, and you'll see some artists kind of go around and do things on different platforms like Beyond NFT. But I see this huge potential for artists to either debut on Artblocks and then start doing the circuit with all the other Artblocks type platforms, or vice versa. They debut maybe there's like a platform that what do y'all call it? Like the factory guild or the factory union, creates their own powered by Artblocks contract. Yeah. It just kind of becomes like the place where people literally can experiment and not feel like the weird pressure of what Artblocks is doing. And then if they want to then apply, they can apply. I mean, it's going to help spread out the load, because even though we're making a lot of progress on our applications list, and it's going to open next month, I mean, if it fills back up, it's going to be the same deal. Like we're going to open it in July, close it in August, and then we're going to be telling people, sorry, you can't apply until December. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't think that we need to be that closed off from the world. We're inspiring people to make art that weren't making art before. We're inspiring people to buy art that weren't buying art before. And I don't think we need to artificially cap it just because of where we are in our platform, in our team. So yeah, I think it's really beautiful to me to find different avenues for people to be able to create generative content without having to be tied directly to like the factory drops and the factory drop schedule, and whether it's a playground drop and a curated drop. Like that structure is what gets me out of bed in the morning. That's awesome. It's art. It's like what I'm excited about, but it doesn't like it can't be the only channel for generative content on the internet.
I think what you're doing is, instead of closing doors, it's like you're opening doors. And I think that there's just so many possibilities, just like from the examples you mentioned. So I think all of us, I think that's something that's super exciting to see, when it comes down the pipeline to see that be shared. I think that's just going to be, something we all look forward to.
Thanks, man. I'm excited about it. And I'm excited what you're going to see on these platforms. Like PXQL's, like it's 100 max and minimum. Like you can't have more, you can't have less. Like there's a beauty there, and like in curating not just the art, but curating a structure and a certain theme. Man, I'm just really excited about what's going to come from that too.
Yeah, and I think being in the Discord channel, a lot of people have just come up with really cool ideas on how to just like different ways to launch a different contract or launch their project. And I think there's just, I'm not going to name any of the examples, but I mean, there's just been so many of them that have been like unique, and it's like, whoa, that would actually be really cool. And yeah, now this could potentially be an opportunity for them to actually do that without, like you said, waiting X amount of time, before it's like their turn. So I think that's something we can all get behind and just very exciting.
Yeah, I think to a degree, I think, it was mentioned, I think in Tech Talk today, it's like, I think y'all were talking about, it'd be nice to just be able to collect a work and not have to wait for the full month cooldown. Reverend Cat Dan has essentially created a brand out of what he's doing, and we love that we're hosting it on our blogs. I think it's amazing, but that's a perfect example of someone that can produce content regularly, maybe feels a little bit restrained with what we're doing because of the cooldowns or whatever. But imagine, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s pop essentially being on its own contract, operated as its own independent thing. He's made his reputation and he's made his name for himself on our blocks, and he has the community, but he can be controlling his own destiny as an artist. And so, just even like the idea of, why do I look like that? That's crazy. Spinning off, like, these artists that are deploying pretty regularly, spinning them off into their own little Powered by Art Blocks contracts, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it just might be a connection thing.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I think it's just
It's
the
like
video
a generative piece.
Maybe we should go ahead and mint this real quick. And there you go. You like waved it out. That was
what
super
the
weird.
hell? That's so crazy. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I don't know what just happened.
Is this a sneak peek of your new playground project or something?
Yeah, right. It's like there's an Xbox Connect or something. It's so weird.
That was wild. I've never seen that happen before. Well, yeah, all of this has been great. Before we kind of like wrap things up, I wanted to talk about the Marfa house. I know you were there this weekend. And a lot of people were like, I got a couple of DMs and people were just asking like, what's the update on, the Marfa house, the headquarters? Like, is there like a timeline in place, or is it kind of just like rough, or do you have any like info on that?
Yeah, we all sat together and did the Tyler Hobbs drop together, which is a lot of fun. We set up another digital display, hung a couple pieces of art. It's starting to kind of feel like a place in there. Moved a couch in. It's going to be a slow thing, because it's every week there's something new, whether it's curated or not curated. We want to display stuff that's playground and factory in there too, but we have over 100 projects. Well, we'll have over 100 projects like by the end of next week. And so we want to just plan it out. And what it's coming down to is that we just have to find a digital solution, because there's just no way that we're going to be able to change out these physical pieces. Our walls are made out of Adobe, so you can't just like hammer a nail into the wall. It's quite complicated. So we actually tinkered with the Samsung frame this weekend, and having it point to live.artblocks.io, and it worked. There was some resolution issues that weren't great, but Jeff spent a lot of time. Well, we all together spent some time ideating, but he was very insistent of this idea of like people being able to access their mints. If we really want to get to the real world, like to the outside collector, and not just like us that know how to shuffle through our OpenSea account regularly, like with no friction, we need to find ways for people to see and view their art blocks pieces. And if we're waiting around for someone else to do it for us, because there are like dozens of other platforms that I think are trying to find ways to help people display their NFTs, and some of them are doing a better job than others. But I think that there's ways that we can integrate into our website to where it can just be so simple that you go to, we were just kind of joking, they could be like av.tv/your username. Because on our new website, you're going to be able to assign a username to your ETH addresses. So you'd be able to go to av.tv/username, and it would just show all your mints, and you could pick which one, and it would just show it full screen with like a little tag, for example. So anyways, yeah, we're working through that. We are planning to host some events during Chinati weekend, which is a major weekend in Marfa, where it's just like one of the most busy weekends in Marfa. I got to meet some really cool people from Chinati while I was there. We all got really special treatment from the Chinati people. We got like a private tour and a really nice meal. And it just sounds like it'd be really fun for Art Blocks to do something during that time, because that's when the most amount of people are in Marfa, or one of the biggest weekends in Marfa for.
When is that?
Art. So it's October 8th, 9th, and 10th, if I'm not mistaken. It's a really wonderful time to be in Marfa, because everything's open, everyone's really happy, because it's like, it's a good weekend for everybody. So we want to participate and maybe host a little cocktail party or like a little event in our house by then. So now we have a little bit of a deadline too, which is great on top of everything else. But so yeah, that's kind of our target with the house. Ultimately, just being there feels good, even if all the art isn't up there. It just feels like it's like this, it's ground zero for what we're doing in a town that has been ground zero for disruptive art for the last 40 years. And so yeah, it's we're learning as we go, but it's really nice and really exciting to be there, even if there's nothing inside.
Cool. I think that's very cool. And maybe we'll obviously. We're interested to know like more information, as we near October, which isn't too far away. I mean, that's what?
Not too far at all.
Like 100 days away, maybe?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yep.
That'll be here.
We have a lot of work to do.
That'll be here before you know it. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that kind of wraps things up. I really appreciate you for being here, Jorge, chiming in all the way from Panama. It's been awesome, just like talking about his factory project. Is there anything else you want to add? Like any like closing notes, or maybe is there a curated project that we should potentially be looking for this upcoming Friday?
We'll announce the curated project tomorrow. We've got a couple coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I just Panyo, I'm so grateful for what you're doing, and Luke as well. This is so much fun, and we're having such a good time. So I really just couldn't express more gratefulness. Thank you for putting these things together. It's awesome.
We wouldn't be here without you, Jeff, and several others for creating this platform. And before we go, I do want to point out that if you are watching the live stream on the left side, is it the left side? Maybe it's the right side. I guess it's the right side of the live stream. That's a Discord channel, and that's where a majority of the collectors, artists, that's where they all live and breathe and talk. And it's such a amazing community. And if you have questions, if you're an artist or if you're just like want to dabble and you're interested in an upcoming project, just jump into any of the channels, like introduce who you are, and someone is going to be able to help you and point you in the right direction. Like, it's honestly, I've been in some communities over just the past few months, and I'd say Art Blocks it's definitely still small enough where it's like not everything's like typing and changing all the time, but it's like small enough right now where it's like you can ask any question, and someone to point you in the right direction and help you out, whether you're an artist, collector, or if you're just new to the space. So we're going to drop the link to the Discord channel inside the description for this YouTube video. So feel free to jump in, ask any questions. And yeah, that's all I have. And do you have anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I'm good, man. Thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks again to the community, to Snowfro again, Jorge for being here today, and to my friend Luke who's helping produce and changing all these beautiful scenes on this Sunday after dinner mint. So thanks again, everyone.
It's gonna be hard to wake up early for your piece, man, but we're gonna have to do it. I feel bad for the California folks. They're gonna have to wake up at like 6 in the morning to get some parametric.
I'm doing this because
it's great though.
Thinking about Alexis in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Never had the opportunity to have a normal hour for him, and also some.
You better buy some, Alexis.
I know.
We're doing it just for you.
Yeah, but basically for the ones in Asia and Europe, we have always had a very comfortable timing for the drops. They don't, so is their opportunity.
Yeah, no, I think it's good to shake up the times a little bit. I know for the curated, it's usually around a set time, so I think it's good to just like change it up. So appreciate that. And we'll look forward to your project on Tuesday. But yeah, that's all we have today. And I just want to thank Snowfro again for taking us through basically the beginning and current stages of Art Blocks and what we can see in the future. So we look forward to all of that. And I hope everyone has a great night.
Thanks, man. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, Juanio. Thank you, Snowfro.
Take care.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.